Yo, what's up everybody? Jumpin' here, and today I'm back on some Outriders, and I'm going to be showing off what I believe to be one of the best Technomancer builds you can do. Now I want to say as a disclaimer right away, this build is extremely good for when you solo or when you play with random people. It's really good because essentially what you're doing is you're debuffing the living hell out of the enemies, and you're getting almost all your damage from your weapon mods, things like Moaning Winds. I'm using the Juggler. I love the Juggler with this build, but the Damascus offering with Shadow Comet is extremely good as well. There's a lot of great combinations you can do with a build like this, and you are going to literally wreck. And it's super tanky, super comfy. It's great. I really love this build a lot, and I would highly recommend trying this out. But if you really want to get stupid and broken and insane, if you have friends or a group of people to play with, and 3 people use this build, you can turn the Technomancer into a Pyromancer Anomaly build. Literally, if you are using Cold Snap, you can kill every enemy. All the little dots on the map can be wiped out instantly. It is insane. Because essentially what we're doing here is we have one of my friends is priming them. So he's generally the one who's going to use Cold Snap first. And he has a couple extra debuffs on it, just that way the enemies are going to take more damage and stuff. And then me and my other friend, we're detonating. We are using Cold Snap after the fact, and pretty much the Cold Snap's doing damage to the enemies, and it's wiping them out. And when they die because of Icicle Storm, they all explode. And they will definitely die from that. So yeah, this is crazy. Obviously, I'm showing off Boomtown, and I'm showing off Kimplant, because these are kind of the best maps to show off massive AoE stuff. And yeah, these rooms can get just completely decimated by Cold Snap. I mean, it's really, really crazy. Now, you can go ahead and throw in to the mix a Pyromancer Anomaly build. It does work great with this. So if you have just 2 Technomancers doing this, it's really good as well, don't get me wrong. But when you have 3, it just kind of gets broken at that point. So when this door opens up, you're going to see some funny stuff, because pretty much we're going to do the same thing we've been doing, where they get primed and then I detonate. You can see some of the damage there. And yeah, if one guy dies, they all die because of Icicle Storm. And if you just pay attention to the mini-map, just look at it, you're going to see it's like playing a Pyromancer Anomaly build, where all the little dots will just disappear. You just pretty much use your ability and you see them all go away. You're like, oh, okay, they're all dead. And then all you have to really focus on are the big guys, because all the small guys are going to just literally get decimated. And because you have things that will do a crap ton of damage, like Moaning Winds, and in my case, the Juggler, or just your weapon mods in general, you can easily deal with the big guys. You don't really have to struggle against them with this build. I highly recommend this build. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. I've always played the gun build on the Technomancer. I love gun builds. But I gotta say, man, I think that this definitely gives it a run for its money, at least on the fun aspect and just the viability of it. It's super viable. Now right there, I always feel bad for those guys when you get off the elevator. They stand no chance. But I decided to keep that clip in just so you can see kind of the numbers, because you can really get a good look there at what I'm getting. But it's 1.1 million. And that's generally enough to kill a lot of the small enemies. And again, if they die and they're frozen next to each other, they're going to also die because of Icicle Storm. So they just all blow up. And just the beginning of that room, everything died. Everything died, all the little guys all around. And this is just a really good room to kind of show this off, because you can literally just take out all the little guys as they're spawning. And as you can see, the big guys, the bosses, they get completely wrecked by this as well. So, and that's just because we basically get more damage when the enemies are frozen. And that's just kind of our debuff essentially. And it's awesome. It's just a lot of fun, I gotta be honest. And you really don't have to worry too much about Anomaly in general with this build, because of the fact that you're getting all your damage mainly from your weapon mods. But in terms of doing this, if you're going to do it in a group, you do want to have Anomaly. It is important. So I'm going to explain all of that, but yeah. So I mean, look how fast we can kill the boss. It's pretty easy. And then all we have to do is pretty much just run to the middle like you would if you were a Pyromancer. And then once we get our cooldown back, we're just going to literally wipe every enemy out in the entire room. I mean, it is really, really crazy. I highly recommend trying out this build. It's a lot of fun, and it's stupid good in a group. Alrighty, so I'm going to go and talk about the class notes first. And the first thing I actually want to talk about is something that me and my friends recently kind of figured out. And the thing is, maybe we're tripping. Maybe you can tell us that this has always been the case and we just didn't know this and we're stupid. But we just kind of figured out, and I don't remember this, so I don't know if it's the update or it's always been this way. But Anomaly power does affect your weapon mods, like Moaning Winds, and in my case, the Juggler, or if you were using something like Shadow Comet. The Anomaly power that you have will affect it, but it only affects it when you will do something like this, where you activate a gadget and now you get more Anomaly power. Or if you have a mod somehow that gives you Anomaly power for doing something. There's another node here as well, which will give you Anomaly power and your whole team when you use a decay. These two things, basically, when you activate them, you will notice if you test it that you will do more damage with your weapon mods, like Moaning Winds. And that's something that we just didn't know, like, honestly. Like, I remember back in the day, I was pretty sure that that's not how it works. I don't know if they changed that or not. But that's one of the things, like, you can get insane damage with your mods now. Just insane damage. And I think that maybe they did change this where you do get benefits from Anomaly power. But, like, your Anomaly power from, like, your armor, like, it doesn't affect it at all. You can test that. It totally doesn't. But when you do something like this, where it just gives you a boost to Anomaly power for 10 seconds or whatever, because you do something to trigger it, like activating a gadget, you will notice your mods will do more damage. So this is super good and it's super important. Now this is one of the craziest things. You get 30% more damage versus frozen enemies. I mean, that's crazy. Like, no other class gets 30%. They get like 15% and 10%, but 30%? Because there's another one here too, which is 10%. So you basically do get 40% more damage versus frozen enemies, and you already have a ton of damage versus frozen enemies. You definitely want to go ahead and put vulnerable on them whenever you freeze them. That's just really good. You definitely want the cooldown for the gadget because that's going to lower the cooldown of Cold Snap, which is our most important thing. And down here, I already talked about it, but this is nice for you and your allies, and it will increase your damage of your mods, so that's really cool. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you can look at the rest, but the most important things really are going to be the extra damage you get versus ice. You want this, so when you activate your gadget, you get more damage with things like Moaning Winds and your weapon mods. And same with this. You want that because it's going to give you more damage for those mods. Now let's talk about the skills. Obviously, Cold Snap, this is the most important thing. Cold Snap is definitely one of the best skills in the entire game. There's no doubt. I wish it could be lower, but to be honest with you, like with this particular setup, it just can't. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later because I still would love it if they would do one thing. If they would just do one thing, it'd be so great for this game. But Cold Snap is super important. Again, if you are playing with a group of Technomancers, you're all doing this, that's when you can do some crazy stuff where you become a Pyromancer. You just wipe out the entire spawn using Cold Snap. But if you are playing solo or if you're playing with randoms, then pretty much you're going to just Cold Snap and you will massively debuff the enemies and you're going to do a ton of damage to them. When they die, they're going to explode with Icicle Storm and you just wipe everything out. So regardless, Cold Snap is amazing. Cryo Turret, basically you use the Cryo Turret because one, it's really great at actually keeping you alive. Like, because of your skilled life leech, you're going to constantly have health because of these. And also, these can freeze for you, and if they're frozen, if you're playing solo or with randoms, if you then Cold Snap, you're going to do some damage to the enemies, and that's really cool. But mainly, these are great for just freezing enemies and giving you health back. Blighted Turret, this is important because of this. This is like really, really important. So you want to be throwing this out a lot. Just throw it out all the time pretty much. But you also want to throw it out because we will get more damage versus enemies that have Toxic on them. So you want to use it against strong enemies like bosses, things like that. So that's pretty much how you want to go about it. Now let's talk about the most important stuff, which is of course the gear. Now the weapon I love for this build is the Juggler. I love this weapon. Now, I know some people might disagree with me. They might not like this weapon and they think there's better options. But I'm telling you, I just really like it. I used to use this on my Devastator, and I always loved it on the Devastator, and honestly, I'm just so used to it, I can't get away from this. This combination is so great. To be honest with you, Scrap Grenade is not that great compared to Grand Opening. Grand Opening is just better. But you can get tons of damage, especially if you boost the damage with the Anomaly like boosters I've already talked about. Plus, when you debuff the enemies with all the ice and the toxic, you can hit super hard with this. And it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, obviously, we want Moaning Winds. Radiation Splash is fine as a secondary thing. You can't do the Fortress thing anymore, so that's kind of a bummer. But Moaning Winds is just insane. And you can easily get 5 million to 10 million damage with this. I've gotten as high as 15 million damage because there's thermal bombs or whatever else is out there. It's really, really great. Now, a couple other guns. One, the Roaring Umbra is actually really good. The Kinetic Stomp is great, so if you love this gun, you can use that. And I really, really, really like the Damascus Offering. This thing is crazy. Claymore Turret is absolutely insane. They buffed the living crap out of this. It used to be 4 seconds, now it's 2. And on top of it, they did actually up the damage too by a lot. So it's really good. If you haven't tried it out yet, try it out. It's amazing. Shadow Comet is still really good. This is a great combination basically if you want to use this. And this is definitely an easier gun to use, but you can actually use the Funeral Pyre. And this is actually really good too because it comes with Shadow Comet and you just go ahead and throw on the Claymore Turret. And basically, this can be better because you have the chance of hitting multiple enemies because it's a shotgun, it has spread. And if it does, it's going to like do a multi-comet and you will actually get multi-claymores as well. So it's really powerful when that happens, but it's definitely like a little bit harder to use than just using the LMG. LMG is just easy. But yeah, those would be the main guns I would kind of recommend for this build. I love the Juggler, so I can't get away from it, but this is a really, really good choice, trust me. Now, the armor. This should be pretty obvious. We're using the Borealis. Now, the Borealis is really meant for firepower, which is a bummer. But the main thing is that we can still take advantage of the increased damage to frozen enemies by 90%. The critical hit damage does not matter. But yeah, it is stupid good. The cryo turrets can freeze for us, and of course we have our cold snap for our big freeze. And anytime they're frozen, we are going to do insane damage with our mods. So this set is awesome. But here's something I want to talk about real quick, and that is, and I've said it before, they really need to give us the option to re-roll one attribute, at least one. I would go as far as to say, make some stuff have random rolls or something. But the reason why is because, one, it would be so nice to have Anomaly power on this build. Anomaly power on this build would make the turrets actually do amazing damage, because the turrets are okay right now. They do like kind of decent damage, but it's nothing that you're going to be shocked about. You're going to mainly get all your damage from things like Moaning Winds and whatever other weapon mods you're using. But if we could have Anomaly power, that would be amazing on this. But I would probably go for cooldown. I would want as much cooldown as possible because right now, like, 3 pieces doesn't have cooldown on it. So yeah, you could really lower Cold Snap to make it like stupid fast and it could come back. And that would be so amazing because right now we really can't do anything about it. This is what you want to use. You want to use the chest, the legs, and the helmet, mainly because of the mods. But the helmet comes with twins, that's fine. And I went ahead and threw on Euphanizer, which we will do more damage versus toxic enemies. That's like easy, especially bosses throughout that turret, and you will apply that and you'll do more damage. For the chest piece, I have Icicle Storm on this. Obviously, it comes with that, so that's what we're going to keep. And I went ahead and threw Captain Hunter on. Icicle Storm is just overpowered. It is so good no matter what. You freeze the enemies with Cold Snap, and then you kill them, and they all die. It is awesome. Now, the legs, the reason why we keep these is because they come with freezing boosts, and then we can just throw Shatter on here, so that's another 40% damage versus enemies with freeze. So overall, we get 80% from our class node, from the mods, and the Borealis gives us 90%. So we just do crazy damage versus enemies that are frozen. Now, this is really important. So you want to go ahead and get some gloves and some boots, basically, with Anomaly, status, and cooldown. your best bet generally is to go to Rift Town and farm some greens until you find like what you're looking for with the attributes, and then just keep re-rolling it until you can actually get a good level 1 mod. There are ways to kind of save scum, or not really save scum, but pretty much you load the game up and you get like that long save, you run over and you upgrade it to be blue, you look at all the tier 1 mods. If you don't get what you want, just close the game and try again. As long as you get that really nice long save, and normally I always do it when I first load in, that's how you can pretty much farm green armor to make it blue armor and to get actually like the mods you're looking for. But Ice Ice Baby is awesome. This is where we're going to get most of our damage from when the enemies are already frozen. So that's why when you're playing with multiple Technomancers doing this, you're able to wipe out the entire map. And you definitely want Long Winter because that's going to give you that massive radius. But Ice Ice Baby is just amazing. And another thing about it is that it will benefit from increasing your anomaly power. So let me give you an example. If we throw that out and we throw this out, basically we used a gadget, we went ahead and we used our turret, and if you look, now the damage went up to 180,000. So if you're watching the gameplay, you can see like easily you can hit for like 1 million. Most of the time you might get like 800,000, but that's a lot of damage. So Ice Ice Baby is awesome and it's insane. Now, one thing that me and my friends were doing, which I kind of don't recommend, I mean, you can try to experiment with this if you want to, especially if you have a group of friends, but we went ahead and threw on Painful Chill. Now, Painful Chill is not nearly as good as Ice Ice Baby. It's not even close, because the damage of that really doesn't go up all that much. And in fact, like, you can actually see the anomaly power go up with that. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. If I do the exact same thing, right, and then I look at this, it doesn't go up, where with this, it goes up. So keep that in mind, but this still can do like decent damage overall. So if you're doing like a group thing, yeah, Painful Chill might be the better choice, but you definitely want like Radical Therapy. Radical Therapy is pretty much 15% more damage versus enemies that have Toxic on them. Again, you normally put the Toxic on strong enemies, bosses, things like that. So that's what you would want on this. But one thing I guess you could do as well is you could probably scrap Hail Shot. Now, Hail Shot is really nice because your turrets will do some okay damage. If every piece had anomaly power on it though, your turrets would actually do some really, really great damage. So I really want you to like understand that. That's why they need to let us re-roll at least one attribute or have random stats, something. I definitely want cooldown, but I would also really love to have anomaly power on this setup. But you could get rid of Hail Shot if you really wanted to and maybe use Painful Chill and then have Radical Therapy. But that's kind of up to you. Because normally in a run, you can get like maybe 10 million damage from the turrets. Maybe if you get lucky, you can get like 20 million from the turrets. You still won't get like insane amounts. So it's up to you on what you want to do or not. But Painful Chill, if you're playing with randoms or solo, you can get rid of it. But if you're playing with like the group, try it out. You might like it. Alrighty guys, well, that's going to pretty much do it for the build. I think that this is such a great Technomancer. Like, you will have a lot of fun with this. And it's just relaxing in a way. Because it's so comfy. It's really easy to play. You can really put out like some crazy damage too. I've played this build with randoms before. And easily I can get 350 million or almost 400 million with this build. It can really put out some damage. And if you do have a group of friends who you can try like what we were doing with me and my friends, I'm telling you, you are going to smoke your times. Like, you will get a higher time. It is that good. And the only thing I can imagine that can beat it would be things like the Pyromancer Anomaly builds. That's it. But as a group, like, it's just amazing. It's really fun to watch all the little enemies just get completely destroyed. So definitely try this out. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. It's a lot of fun, and it's just an awesome build. I would really appreciate it if you could like this video for me. It definitely helps me out, and that would be awesome. And also, of course, be sure to subscribe for future videos. And if you do, make sure to click the bell. That way you can stay notified. Thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope that everyone has a very nice day. And peace out.